But I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States.
Jimmy Kimmel just did the unthinkable. He went after Don Jr. and his dad in one of the most chaotic roast sessions ever caught on camera.
The guy who keeps saying I have no ratings, well, that makes two of us. They polled more than 1,000 people, and I lead Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3, he's at -13. It's nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren, I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than... There he is, tiny soprano. I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. What he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma. So, and as with all cases involving the family Trump, DJ TJ was sworn in on an upside-down Bible. He will finish his testimony tomorrow, and then Eric will testify, and then Trump will claim he's never met either one of them. But it's getting serious.
Kimmel didn't just roast them, he practically built a bonfire, threw in a few tweets, and lit the match with pure sarcasm. It all began with Don Jr., who's basically the human version of a Wi-Fi signal that keeps dropping mid-sentence. He decided to step into the spotlight again, thinking he could handle the heat. But Jimmy had other plans.
At this point, finding a toenail in your salad has a 7-point lead over Donald Trump. And I hope he doesn't see this. I hate to, I don't like to upset him, but I think he might be upset because the White House put out a statement this afternoon. This is a real statement. Over 77 million Americans showed up on Election Day to cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump, who is delivering on his overwhelming mandate to put America first. Jimmy Kimmel prays every night to garner a fraction of that support to keep his show on air after ratings dropped 64% last week. Sad. I like sad with an exclamation point. It would make a nice T-shirt with Trump's face on it, wouldn't it?
You could almost hear the political PR team praying in unison as Kimmel tore through the Trump family antics like a chainsaw through butter. He started with Don Jr.'s latest attempt at being relevant, which, as usual, involved more enthusiasm than logic. Let's just say, if charisma were currency, Don Jr. would still be paying off debt from 2016.
I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess, as uncomfortable as it's been. And I'm proud to have stood there every single second by his side in that freezing cold courtroom. He's an inspiration to me every single day, and he'll be vindicated.
In other words, Daddy, I was there, Don Jr. wasn't. He just showed up today.
Then came the moment everyone waited for. Jimmy turned his gaze on the president himself. You know it's serious when Kimmel, a guy who once cried over a healthcare bill, suddenly morphs into a verbal sniper taking shots at the commander-in-chief's entire personality. He didn't just mock him, he surgically dismantled him with the precision of someone who's been keeping notes since the first fake news press conference. Every word was dipped in irony and rolled in political glitter before being catapulted straight into Trump Tower. The best part? Trump probably loved it. This is a man who treats criticism like caffeine, can't function without it. Every joke fuels his next tweet, every insult becomes a rally slogan. He pointed out how Don Jr. constantly tries to impress his dad, even though the man's emotional range is basically a brick wall in a red tie. It's like watching a grown man audition for approval from someone who's too busy tweeting about golf scores.
Sometimes we get so fixated on Trump, we forget there are other disgusting creatures hell-bent on bringing about the end of the world out there. But our president, Metamucil World Peace, is having a pretty good week, or he was anyway. Yesterday, Trump had what was easily the most presidential day of his life. He was front and center on the world stage signing a ceasefire in the Middle East, and then he got home, he started going through the internet, and he just couldn't help himself. Trump made the cover of Time magazine, which he usually loves. Before he was president,
That's the beauty of Kimmel's roast. He didn't need to shout or use outrageous gimmicks. He just leaned on cold, well-timed humor that hits like a slap you didn't see coming. His delivery had that classic late-night smoothness, every jab disguised as a smile, every punchline landing with surgical accuracy. He painted Don Jr. as this tragic figure who's forever stuck in his father's political shadow, trying to prove he's more than just Trump Jr. but somehow always ending up proving the opposite. Then came the metaphors. Kimmel compared the Trump family brand to an overextended reality show. Still running, but everyone's clearly tired, and the plot stopped making sense 3 seasons ago. He didn't even have to exaggerate. The comedy wrote itself. By this point, the internet was melting down. Trump supporters were declaring Kimmel unhinged. Liberals were treating him like a comedic messiah, and neutral folks were just there for the memes. The beauty of it all? Kimmel didn't even look angry. He looked amused, like he'd just discovered that the country's political chaos was the world's most entertaining TV show, and he had front row seats.
They're eating their cats. They're eating the dogs. Welcome back to the program.
Charlie, I thought this was a conspiracy theory. And like all conspiracy theories, it turns out to be true.
What is going on with that lisp? A conspiracy theory, you say? Who is conspiring? Immigrants from Port-au-Prince? I mean, I read that they're roasting Irish feathers.
It's disgusting, and it should not be happening in America. It shouldn't be happening anywhere else in the civilized world, but that's the reality. Okay? You look at Haiti, you look at the demographic makeup, you look at the average IQ. If you import the third world into your country, you are going to become the third world. That's just basic. Like, it's not racist, it's just fact.
I don't know. Sounds pretty racist to me. It's fake Time magazine covers hanging on the walls of his golf club, for real. But this one, I guess, conjured up some mixed feelings because of the photo they used. It's upset him so much that at 1:36 a.m. he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. Now, I want to go back to that cover and show you this crown. Okay, that's not a crown. That's the letter M. Only he would see an M on his head and assume it's a crown. If that's not an M, you're on the cover of Time magazine, okay?
And Jimmy? He just stands there, smirking like the universe's most patient teacher, watching a student repeatedly trip over the same sentence.
Meanwhile, the president has been doing his part to bring the two sides together by calling one of the sides the party of hate, evil, and Satan. Hate, evil, and Satan. And that's why they call him the peace president. Teddy Roosevelt had a press conference / pity party today. He bitched and moaned and patted himself on the back so many times he almost dislocated his shoulder. He played all the hits. He bragged about winning the elections in Georgia in 2016 and 2024. He again claimed the election was stolen from him in Georgia in 2020. The blaming and the bragging, he cannot stop.
Kimmel just stepped in and turned the subtitles into jokes. And power might make you untouchable politically, but never comedically. Because the second you take yourself too seriously, someone like Jimmy Kimmel is waiting with a smirk, a punchline, and the perfect reminder that sometimes the truth really is the funniest thing of all.